Hi, thank you for joining today. I'm Crystal B. Clark and welcome to my YouTube channel, Moving with Meaning. I'm going to take you through a few brands that I actually offer or present on the channel and through other avenues as well. So if I can interest you in that, let me see what I can tell you about myself. Part of that is I offer four brands and interact in all of those in various ways. So the first one is author, second one is blogger, third is podcaster, and last but definitely not least, life coach. So if you're interested in hearing all that, keep watching. All right, so thank you for sticking around. I'm just so excited because I've actually really hopped on to my entrepreneurship, if you will. And this is a passion that I've had for really over 20 years. This is what I wanted to do when I grew up. And so this is how it's taken me on a life of its own. So we'll start at the beginning with the author, the most important piece of this, okay? So if I was to really look at my background, I was raised in a large family, meaning my extended family. My mother is the youngest of like 12 kids, and all the cousins and aunts and everything like that. They really raised their daughters to be very career driven, very independent, very strong-willed women. And part of that was that we basically are all emotionally withdrawn. We really are. And so anytime we expressed emotion or anything like that, it was kind of, I don't want to say it was kind of frowned upon, but it wasn't. I almost felt like no one really knew how to deal with that. And what I knew was I needed to get this out some kind of way. And so I found a way to do that through writing short stories, writing poetry. I'm also an artist, so I do a lot of sketches. And then also I found early on that I had a knack for vocalization. So doing poetry, speaking engagements, and just drawing people in with my articulation, intonation, and all those great things. So I really found that early on, like very early on in my childhood. And I continued to do all that, but again, career driven. So in college, I started my first book, and then life just took over. And I am now in my 40s, just finishing my first book that I started back 20 years ago. And I am so ecstatic about it. I honestly think that this was actually a really good time to release this book and to really take on this journey, because I don't believe, and someone told me this, one of my ARC readers told me that they couldn't put it down. It was great. And I just said, yeah, I know, I'm so late in getting into it. And she actually said, no, I think this is the perfect time. I don't think, she's like, and I feel like I'm getting to know you through this book. And I thought, you know what? Because that is the intention of my book. I think it's so easy to write a book, right? That has tons of adventure and plot twists and intrigue and things like that. But I think it's very interesting to connect with people, to relate with people through their characters, through the events, and all these different paths that people take, and all the mental toil and strain that goes into all of this. And I don't think that there is enough focus, because there's so much focus on the adventure, there's so much focus on the suspicion or suspense. And I think you could wind all of that in, as well as build character development. And so I really focused on that. I really focused on the inner thoughts of what people are thinking. And so what I realized was that there was a subgenre of fantasy, which is spiritual fantasy, and you don't hear about it quite a bit. And so I guess I want to bring that back to life. I'm exploring it because I just found out a little bit about that, and we'll dedicate a little bit of videos to kind of go over all of that, and as well as my process of writing my sequel, some of the lessons I learned with just writing, editing, some of the frustrations I had, all of those things, because we were all going through that, and everyone wants to hear and relate that this is not easy. There will be times and moments where you want to connect, right? So I will definitely be giving tons of videos about just my process with authoring and my process, as well as going through my sequel and how I go about it. All right, so if you want to know more, because there's a huge Cliff Notes version, I have my very first blog is actually dedicated to my journey into my author. So definitely go to movingwithmeaning.com, check out the blog, let me know what you think. So we're segueing to the next one, right? Blogger. So this was born purely out of marketing my book. And this was when I was researching. Like, I finished my book. It's now in the editing phase. And I'm like, okay, I need to focus on how I'm going to market this thing because I don't know what to do. All I know is I'm going to post it, maybe share with a couple people, but I knew that wasn't going to probably hit or reach the right folks that I needed to hit. Or at least not the right folks, but the larger network, larger community. And how can I get word out? So one of the things that popped up was like, hey, start a blog. And I'm like, you know what? That's great because I write anyway. I can write something every day, like a full blog. I could write every day on something that happened that day, something that inspired me, something that made me reflect, something that made me appreciate things or maybe think about something that happened in connection to that. I do that, and it kind of took a life of its own because now it's like a whole website that offers other channels, if you will, for people on my podcast, for the guests that are on my podcast, for my life coaching services that I'm going to be offering now, and just great tidbits of information as far as my writing style and my writing process. So I'm hopeful that you guys find that interesting. But again, part of understanding my book is understanding me. And so if you go and read my blogs, you will see me, these little bits and pieces in the characters or in the plot twists or direction that these folks have taken, and you'll see that connection between these. So that's why it's really important to kind of really engage me in all these different platforms, because you'll understand more about the book as far as why I wrote it, but I also want to hear about what you took from it, what it meant to you. And so that helps me stay motivated, and it of course helps you stay engaged. But moving on again, podcaster. So this again came not by my idea, but a friend of mine had called and said, hey, how about we do a podcast? And so what we really did the podcast was really targeted to mental health in the Black community. And as I said, we both at the time had, discussed all of these different things that we realized as we grew up, what we missed about and why we needed to focus on mental health, because we went through that. We went through the denial, that we went through the withdrawal of those. And so we only went one season, but we went different ways because our focuses were different. We realized that we were kind of creatively different paths. And so she went on her way and I went on mine. And I thought, hey, the reception I was getting from other people who were listening and other people who were commenting on it, they enjoyed it. They enjoyed listening to me. Even my guests tell me that this is a great podcast. And I don't know if they were just telling me that, but it's so inspiring and so encouraging just to not only use this as another outlet for my expression and for another way of you finding inspiration that I am getting through my books. So definitely subscribe to the show, Moving with Meaning, the podcast. I am currently on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and I believe we have a few episodes here and there on YouTube Music. So stay engaged, download those episodes, and tell me what you think, okay? I think that kind of goes into the last one, which is Life Coach. So this really kind of came naturally, right, out of my IT consulting. And it was just that as I was in there, I was growing. I had developed a great reputation. I ended up being nominated to be trained as a career coach. And then I had coachees. These guys still call me to this day, to talk about how they want to go about things, how they're thinking about shifting careers and all of these things. They talk about different things with life, all things, and they call me, right? So I didn't realize that this was like an actual thing and people get paid for it. So I figured, hey, what better person to, who's in IT, specifically analytics, whose job is to really analyze and speak with clients and to ask them, what do they want? And then to really ask them questions so that then we make sure that we're taking them down the path that they truly desire, right? And so I do that in both career coaching and in mental health coaching. Those are my two coaching specialties that I will offer. And you can see that again also on movingwithmeaning.com. But I'll again dedicate more videos so that you can get a little bit more in depth on some of those things that I have to offer, some more insights that I have, some learning growth. I actually have a memoir that I'm writing that goes and talks about how I learned all these different lessons through that IT consulting, because I will tell you, nothing prepares you for the emotional and the mental toll that corporate America will give you. There's not a book out there written for it. You really do have to have a career coach to talk to and run these things by them and to really process these things. So I'm definitely here for you. If not, if you're kind of on the edge, I do offer free discovery calls, 15 minutes. Let's talk and let's see if we can connect. I mean, I am a very laid back, sarcastic individual. Seriously sarcastic. It's weird, right? Those are two words that don't really belong together, but it fits and it works. It makes a connection and we get somewhere. So that's me in a nutshell of the 4 different brands and kind of material that you'll see here. So I hope that you will come back. I hope that this inspires you to subscribe to the show so that you can be notified of all the different videos that come up and post. I will do my best to get a video out every once a week because I am busy, right? Being all those are quite a bit. I do quite a few things. So please join me on this journey, and I look forward to giving you more content as well as speaking with you and engaging with you through the community. All right, so I tell you what, let's look at this. All moves have meaning, and we'll see you later.